To this Thursday edition of the World Report, viewers. I'm Arjun, Samar, Mahendran. Let's take a look at what's making headlines around the world. Bringing much needed possible closure to the years-long Epstein saga, viewers, U.S. President Donald Trump has finally signed the bill to release the Epstein files. Now, as the bill was signed by the U.S. President, right inside the Oval Office, let me tell you, the Justice Department of the DOJ has already begun preparing documents for its public release. Now, once signed, the law requires a 30-day release window for all the files to actually come out and be made public. Now, these files also must be released before the 19th of the December. That's exactly when this 30-day window would come to an end. However, legal redactions and any ongoing investigations which are still active could still slow or even limit what the public actually sees. So, viewers, while the framework is set and the countdown has very much begun, the final release may not be as complete or even as fast as one may expect. U.S. President Donald Trump shared a light-hearted moment with Tesla CEO Elon Musk during remarks at a U.S. Saudi investment forum. Now, spotting Musk in the audience, Trump joked that the billionaire was in fact lucky that I'm with you, in Trump's word, before teasingly asking whether Musk had ever thanked him properly. Now, just moments later, Musk joined in the banter online, posting memes about their relationship and also sharing a public message of appreciation for the American president. Musk wrote, and I quote here, "I would like to thank President Trump for all he has done for America and the world." Here's more.
People, they don't know about that. They don't really have deductions. We're giving them a deduction on the interest if they buy a nice Tesla car and they borrow the money. You're so lucky I'm with you, Elon. I'll tell you, you are. Has he ever thanked me properly? Although I do let him buy other than electric cars, but these are minor details. You know, we had a mandate, which even Elon thought was ridiculous, that everybody has to have an electric car by 2030. And once, fortunately, he said, that's a ridiculous thing. So I keep quoting, but I'm giving them a deduction. Now, Elon would like to have it differently. A deduction only if you buy a Tesla, right? But we'll let it be for everybody. But think of it. You get a deduction on the loan, on your interest payment. I think that's going to be an unbelievable boon to car sales.
I'll give it a shot. We stay with the U.S. where President Donald Trump has in fact said that New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani will meet him at the White House on Friday. That's tomorrow, less than 24 hours from now, viewers. Trump has in fact been critical, to say the least, of Mamdani's policy and also had warned on the eve of the 4th of November election that Mamdani's win will be a complete, total economic and social disaster for New York City, or the world's capital, or the Big Apple, as it's called. Now, Trump also said in a post on Truth Social, and I'm quoting here, "Communist mayor of New York City, Zohran Kwame Mamdani, has asked for a meeting. We have arranged that this meeting will take place at the Oval Office on Friday, the 21st of November. And to delve deeper on this very important meeting, my colleague Vishal Vivekmi joins us from our Noida studios. But before that, listen in.
Is SNAP and food benefits something you would bring up to the president? He mentioned yesterday he'd like to meet with you. Did your team reach out? And is this one of the first areas of conversation?
My team reached out to the White House to fulfill a commitment I made to New Yorkers over the course of this campaign, a commitment that showed a willingness to meet with anyone and everyone, so long as it was to the benefit of the 8.5 million people that call the city their home, and so long as it would help to address the affordability crisis that is pushing so many of them out of this city.
Well, my colleague Vishal Vivek joins us now. Vishal, we've seen it all, have we? Or is the final episode, the so-called grand finale, left from Mamdani's turn up the volume jibe at Trump, from his swearing in to Trump's very important tweet, which begins with "communist Mamdani"? So is this stage set for a Friday Oval Office showdown there, Vishal? What's the latest you're picking up?
Well, all eyes are on this meet because few would have expected that as soon as it was said that Zoran Mamdani would be set to be the next mayor, he would soon announce that he would be meeting the President of the United States because he's one of the biggest critics that Trump has ever had, and he's been quite rabid in his approach. He has repeatedly taken to social media to attack Trump on various fronts. He has opposed almost all the foreign policies that Trump has brought in ever since he walked into the White House for the second time. Be it the way he has handled the student protesters back in the U.S. territory, or the way the U.S. has handled many of the wars across the globe. He has been talking about all of these things, all of these aforementioned topics for a while now. It will be interesting to see how both the leaders join hands, because many a time we have seen in the recent past that whenever Trump has invited someone to the Oval Office, and when they're at odds, it has turned into an ugly affair. Whether it's the same case this time, that remains to be seen, because Mamdani is also someone who is known to be quite expressive and not really hold back, and it will be really interesting to see how both of these leaders interact when they do the same in the Oval Office.
Absolutely, Vishal. All eyes, needless to say, on that all-important Oval Office meeting, a thaw or another possible storm that's just brewing. Thank you so much again for putting the developments in perspective. U.S. President Donald Trump, viewers, is dismissing U.S. intelligence findings that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman likely had some culpability in the 2018 killing of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Now, his comments came Tuesday as Trump warmly welcomed the de facto ruler of Saudi on his first White House visit in as much as 7 years. Meanwhile, the Associated Press spoke with Jamal Khashoggi's widow on Wednesday, who said she was shocked by what President Trump said in the Oval Office meeting, sitting besides MBS. Here's more.
Very upsetting and very disappointing. And he described someone else, not Jamal Khashoggi. He have his information from a different resource, only one resource, and which is he convinced with, but he described someone else, not Jamal. Jamal is not this person he described.
And speaking of the U.S. viewers, Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has said that let them keep their criminal ambitions and colonize and conquer our America. Now, his comments came as President Donald Trump on Monday did not rule out military action against Venezuela, despite bringing up a potential diplomatic opening with Maduro, who, by the way, viewers, has himself insisted that a U.S. military build-up and strikes on alleged drug boats near his South American country are in fact designed to push him out of office on the pretext of being a war on drugs. Meanwhile, across the northern border, Trump has again reiterated that he would probably talk to Maduro, but has again stressed that he is not ruling out the possibility of military action in Venezuelan territory. Mexican authorities on Wednesday announced the arrest of a man they say was involved in the planning and the ordering of the killing of a popular mayor earlier this month in the western state of Michoacan. A public security officer, Omar Garcia Harfush, said in a news conference that investigators have found the suspect through messages that they in fact discovered on the cell phones of the two men who were killed in the days after Urupan Mayor Carlos Manzo's assassination, and that the criminal cell he led was tied to the Jasilco New Generation cartel. Viewers, a Michoacan state prosecutor, Carlos Torres Pina, has said that the suspect, now being identified only as Jorge Armando N., in keeping with Mexican privacy rules, was arrested Tuesday afternoon. Menzo, meanwhile, was gunned down on the night of the 1st of November, or the Day of the Dead, in Mexican culture, as it's known, in front of dozens of people gathered for the Day of the Dead festivities. The teenage gunman, meanwhile, was killed shortly after he attacked. Listen in.
El análisis minucioso de evidencias y la coordinación interinstitucional permitió avanzar de manera determinante en la investigación y dio como resultado la detención de Jorge Armando N., identificado como uno de los autores intelectuales y uno de los líderes de la célula delictiva que planearon el homicidio de Carlos Manzo.
U.S. South Africa is preparing to host leaders and delegates from around the world for the G20 summit in Johannesburg this weekend. It's an event overshadowed by the boycott of U.S. President Donald Trump and his administration. Africa's first G20 summit, in fact, will see representatives from 42 countries, including India's Prime Minister Modi, but not the United States, a founding member of the group and one that is in fact supposed to be taking over its rotating presidency in Johannesburg itself. Now, while the hosts have admitted that the US absence raises concerns, and serious ones at that, about the summit's ultimate success, South Africa's Foreign Minister Ronald Lamola has said it was also an opportunity, in his words, to send a clear message that the world can move on without the US. However, but that will not be easy. Meanwhile, a senior lecturer at the School of Economics at the University of Johannesburg breaks down the latest developments.
So with the US pulling out of the G20, I think it's quite important to know that it has a significant impact on a lot of the countries' participation, like we saw with Argentina also pulling out, and other countries maybe not sending their presidents this side. So I think it does have an impact. But in the end, it's a lot of the politicians and political analysts are actually saying that it can actually have a positive impact, because there's not going to be a sideshow of another policy agenda. Everybody coming this side has the same agreements to what needs to be done. And I think that strengthens South Africa's position in terms of the summit.
Outside the venue, protesters on Wednesday night projected demands on the side of a building in Johannesburg, where world leaders, as we told you, are expected to gather for the G20 summit in South Africa this very weekend, calling on those attending to take on urgent steps or actions on multiple fronts at that. Now, the Glasgow Actions team and other civil society organizations staged the demonstrations in Johannesburg, which in fact saw buildings lit up with projections demanding action on the global debt crisis and climate accountability. Meanwhile, last year, 3.3 billion people were living in countries that pay more interest on their debts than they spend on health or education. And the number will increase to a grim 3.4 billion people this year, almost half of the world's population. This is according to UN Trade Chief Rebecca Crinspan. We get you more.
The message that we're putting up here, that we're projecting here at the Civic Centre, is really just to give focus to the G20 members around the work that they need to do and the courage that we're calling on them to really have as far as solving not only the African debt crisis, but also the world's debt crisis. We've got to drop the debt as a first port of call. The debt is highly and unfairly priced.
We shift our focus to South Asia, where at least 5 tourists, including 2 Mexicans, 2 Germans and 1 British woman, have died after being caught in a snowstorm and strong winds while hiking on the Torres del Paine glaciers in Chilean Patagonia, the government has reported on Tuesday. Meanwhile, authorities are saying 4 other people who had been reported missing were located alive, and no others were believed to be missing. Now, the incident, viewers, occurred on Monday afternoon, when adverse weather hit different parts of Torres del Paine National Park. It's a vast natural complex in the south of the continent. Now, according to reports, a group of tourists got lost while hiking on a circuit and were caught up in the adverse weather conditions. Stay with the region, where Indonesia has Mount Semeru, the highest peak on the Java island, by the way, erupted Wednesday, blanketing several villages with falling ash, as you see right there on your television screens, prompting evacuations and also leading authorities to raise the alert level to the highest. Mount Semeru, viewers, in East Java province has unleashed searing clouds of hot ash and a mixture of rock, lava and gas that in fact traveled all the way up to 7 kilometers or 4.3 miles down its slope several times between midday all the way to dusk. Now, a thick column of hot clouds rose almost 2 kilometers or 1.2 miles into the air, Indonesia's geology agency said in a statement. Meanwhile, these eruptions, viewers, that unfolded throughout the day have forced authorities to raise the volcano's alert level twice, from the third highest level to the highest, the agency has said. Meanwhile, no casualties, thankfully, have been reported as of now. Heavy fog clouded a wide swathe of the United Arab Emirates or the UAE on Thursday, causing flight delays and slowing traffic across the country. Now, fog covered planes on display also at the Dubai Air Show as visitors arrived in the morning. Private jets, commercial aircraft and military planes alike were among the more than 200 aircraft on display at this year's air show. Now, the event brings together manufacturers, operators and even industry leaders with the sole focus on new aircraft design and a push towards more sustainable aviation. In traffic near the Dubai Air Show, cars meanwhile slowed as visibility dropped in some areas to only around a few hundred meters. Melania Trump and Usha Vance took their first trip together, visiting Marine Corps members and their relatives in North Carolina. This to mark the approach of Thanksgiving and to also salute military families, which, by the way, the First Lady has called the quiet strength of America. The wives of President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, a former Marine himself, by the way, visited a high school and an elementary school and also addressed hundreds of cheering uniformed Marines at Camp Lejeune. It's the largest Marine Corps building on the East Coast and Marine Corps Air Station, New River. We get you more.
Military families are the quiet strength of our nation. Your love, patience, and courage give our service members the confidence to serve with honor and the comfort of knowing home is always waiting. As Thanksgiving approaches, families across America will come together. But for many of you, someone you love will be serving far from home. Please know that our nation is thinking of you, praying for you, and deeply grateful for your service. To every service member, thank you for standing watch so others can celebrate in peace.
Viewers, Hyderabad-born Ghazala Hashmi has created history recently when she became the first Muslim woman and the first South Asian American to in fact win a statewide office in the U.S. state of Virginia. Now, Hashmi spoke exclusively to NDTV's Uma Sudhir in a conversation about what it took to become the Lieutenant Governor-elect of Virginia. But that's not it, viewers. She also highlighted on how H-1B policy changes are going to impact the U.S. economy in a nutshell. Meanwhile, Hashmi went down memory lane, also about shopping around the iconic Charminar and how she can't wait to get back here. Listen in.
We are honored to be joined on NDTV by Senator Ghazala Hashmi, who has actually broken several glass ceilings. She is the first Muslim woman and the first South Asian American to be occupying or to become the Lieutenant Governor-elect of Virginia State, and the first to get a statewide position like this. Senator Hashmi, thank you so much for joining us. What would you tell young women aspiring to be these kind of leaders in positions of power, in positions of influence? What would you tell them are the biggest takeaways that you have for them?
It's been so gratifying to me. After election night, I received thousands of messages from so many people, but most especially from young women across the world who see in my election their own opportunities to pursue their dreams, to make sure that they are working in challenging environments, and to know that they too have the opportunity. You know, not everybody needs to run for office, but I think the biggest message for young women in particular is that they should seize the opportunities to really challenge themselves.
You're assuming or going to be assuming this very important role at a time when the U.S. politics has become highly polarized, or is it across the world that you see?
Yes, I decided to run for office because of the polarization. So in 2019, when I first decided to run for the Virginia Senate, it was because of the bigotry and the division that Donald Trump came into office in 2016. He ran on a platform of targeting immigrants, and he also ran on a platform of targeting Muslims in particular. He imposed a Muslim ban as he came into office the first time, and I felt a responsibility to stand up and to speak out for the values that I have, and to make sure that we're protecting all marginalized communities. And sadly, across the world, I think we're seeing deep polarization.
One of the concerns among the Indian population is about the H-1B visas itself, and that's been a matter of huge politics and debate as well. What is your view on the policies that the U.S. has vis-a-vis H-1B and the way they seem to be changing in the recent past?
It is creating a real crisis here in this country, and especially with so many employers. Our HB1 visa holders are provide such important contributions to many of our job sectors, but particularly in technology. The skills and the talents that our HB1 visa holders bring with them are essential to our companies being able to do the necessary work. And one thing we know with the crackdown we are seeing, unfortunately, from the Trump administration, the kind of restrictions that administration is placing, is that we're going to lose the talent. We're also going to lose the companies themselves. And this is impacting entire families, not just workers, with the kind of terrible decisions we're seeing the Trump administration making.
Thank you so much, Ghazala Hashmi, for joining us on NDTV. It was a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you.
Well, you can check out the full conversation on ndtv.com and all our social media handles. Meanwhile, it's time we step into a short break. Viewers, much more lined up on the other side. Needless to say, don't you go anywhere. Welcome back, viewers. You're watching the Thursday edition of the World Report with me, Arjun, Samar, Mahendran. We shift our focus to the US, where tech billionaire Elon Musk is making bold predictions about the impact that artificial intelligence and humanoid robots will have on society in the not-too-distant future, just by the way. Now, speaking at the US-Saudi Investment Forum, Musk has claimed that the work will become optional for human beings. Poverty will be eliminated altogether and monetary currency will be irrelevant. Listen in.
It's kind of interesting. And my guess is, if you go out long enough, assuming there's a continued improvement in AI and robotics, which seems likely, the money will stop being relevant at some point in the future. There will still be constraints on power, like electricity and mass. The fundamental physics elements will still be constraints, but I think at some point currency becomes irrelevant.
In the world of sports, viewers, Panama's win 3-0 over El Salvador on Tuesday night has clinched its second FIFA World Cup qualification ever, and has in fact sparked celebrations across the country. Goals from Cesar Blackman and Eric Davies' penalty and Jose Luis Rodriguez scored the win to return the tiny Central American nation to the World Cup for a second time only. Panama's players dance and paraded over the streets, as you see right there on your television screens, of the capital atop an open-top bus, as fans clocked the city's main avenues, chanting and waving flags well into the night. In Southeast Asia, the 2025 FAI World Road Soccer Championships concluded in Shanghai on Tuesday as well. A total of 46 teams from 18 countries across 4 continents competed in the match. China claimed both the world titles with commanding performances, securing gold and silver in F9A A group and F9A B group, confirming its leadership in the sport's early competitive landscape. Meanwhile, neighbor South Korea achieved excellence as well, earning bronze in both these categories. Now, the match was organized by the Aerosports Federation of China, ASFC as it's called, and the Shanghai Science and Technology Sports Management Center. The first World Championship, by the way, in this rapidly growing sport took place at the Shanghai Stadium from the 15th to the 18th of November. The Prince and Princess of Wales had a night out Wednesday at London's Royal Albert Hall for their annual Royal Variety performance. Viewers, the couple missed the last 2 years of the event while the princess focused on cancer treatment. She's now in remission. Attending the Royal Variety performance has been a royal family tradition dating back to the 1920s, 1921, under King George V. Now, last year, King Charles attended solo. Scheduled performers this year included the cast of Paddington the Musical, pop star Jessie J, Grammy Award winner singer Lofi, among others. And well, that's a wrap in this Thursday edition of the World Report. Take care and have a wonderful day.